specific. So maybe that's why this guy works well with Nicolas, because he's very specific, right? So he kind of, if you can work with Kubrick, you can work with anybody, if that makes sense.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
And I also like the production design. I like how they, I was talking to my class about this and how I showed them clips from this film, but then I also kind of lectured them about the usage of the clubs and the look for the best cheap production design. And I noticed that she had also worked on Drive, Lost River, which was also with Ryan Gosling directed. But then she's moved up.
That's a good movie actually. Yeah.
But she's moved up to Collateral Beauty, Motherless Brooklyn, Suicide Squad, and Guardians of the Galaxy 3, the latest Suicide. Like she's moved up, Beth Mickle from her early work.
That's impressive. Yeah. Yeah.
I thought that was pretty interesting. And then I also, I don't know. I just think this movie, for me, okay, I just find it so interesting. And they were there for 6 months, but they had no budget. And they had to scout, they didn't have permits. For me, that's much more interesting than, listen, you know me, dude, I love $200 million movies. I think.
Oh, yeah,
the way I look at them is like, they're like skyscrapers. Some of them are beautiful. They're put together with tons of concrete. They're put together with tons of staff, coordination, scheduling, math, engineering. And in the end, they're beautiful, right? But I'm never too interested I'm interested in the view from the skyscrapers, but never in them like other than the engineering. But when I see a smaller structure built by an eclectic architect, I'm much more drawn to that. And so that's maybe why I like this movie so much, is it's all, Winding Refn. It's all him, and it's very eclectic, and I like that about it.
No, absolutely. I agree with you, Mark. I think, for as much flack as I give some of the Marvel movies that show up in the MFF polls on Facebook, it's like I can sit down and enjoy like a Thor Ragnarok or
Ant-Man and the Wasp.
Oh my God! The Ant-Man movies are like the MVPs of the Marvel universe, in my opinion. Those are so much fun.
It's a true serum.
But, yeah, but absolutely. It's like I can get behind those movies and love those movies and have fun with them. But something like this feels more personal, more risk-taking, more dangerous in the way it presents its themes, but also a bit more like there's. Like, I think Winding Refn is he is kind of a curious fellow, and I think curious in a spiritual sense, and he goes on a whole thing on the commentary track about this film was representative of, he wanted to do a film about fighting God, and he's talking about how the birth canal is the closest we get to God on earth, kind of. See, stuff like that, it's just the stuff he's throwing out during that commentary track is like, okay, some of it sounds a little heady to me, but I kind of like that, and I can kind of see where he's coming from. It doesn't sound like he's being pretentious, So I really can get behind and respect that about that. And that's probably why the film has kind of this pull on me, is because I'm just like, he's taking you to another place that's kind of transcending just the pure, I'm going to sit back for 2 hours, eat popcorn, and be entertained. He wants to do a bit more than that, I think.
How earnest do you think he is about all of that? He's saying this movie is, he like you just said, he's saying this movie is. Wait, what did you say? You just said it. It's like he said this movie could be told inside. What's the note that he says in here? I'm struggling, but he says something about this movie could take place inside the
womb.
Yeah, right. He said that.
I think something like that. Yeah.
I mean, like, how earnest do you think he is with that? Because he says, well, yeah, he said, I think this movie takes place in the vagina. That is probably very, very true.
Okay. All right. I'm not sure what to make of that, honestly. I think when he said that, I kind of rolled my eyes a little bit. I think he might be reaching or trolling us with that one. Yeah.
We couldn't see him winking when he was doing that. Now, the final shot, not the final shot, but when Gosling comes in, or Julian comes in and finds his mom dead, because Chang just cut her artery in her neck, and she just died quick. Well, it was a pretty, from what she did to him and ordered, that was a pretty merciful death on her, all things considered.
Yeah, I mean, I guess Like, if someone else had directed the movie, they might have just dwelled on, Kristen Scott Thomas's character being tortured to death, for her sins, kind of. But I think Chang is just more like, I'm delivering this justice, and I'm just gonna slit your jugular and be done with you because you're such a black spot on humanity. Yeah.
That's perfect. He just wanted it done. I like that a lot. And that led to Julian stealing one of Chang's swords, and he comes in, he cuts her gut open, and he sticks his hand inside her. So Refn said that he penetrated her, but for some reason I read it as he wanted that blood on his hands.
I kind of like your theory better, Mark. I think that was another point where I was kind of I think Refn was kind of rabbit trailing, and he was kind of losing me a bit with that. But I was kind of wondering what the deal was with that. And the sword that Chang uses, to get back to emasculation and notions of masculinity, the sword can be read as a phallic symbol as well in the film. So, you can even go as far as to say Julian is pathetically penetrating his dead mother with that in a bit of necromantic action. I don't know if you want to read the whole sexual angle into it, but I like the blood on your hands thing better because he feels a sense of guilt, like, maybe in letting the father go. But he viewed that as the right thing, but he's not allowed to be confident in his decisions because it's constantly being undermined by something else or someone else.
And then the next shot is of his hands, and then it leads to him getting them, as we can guess, being chopped off by Chang. So obviously he shot the cop, so he had to suffer for that. But he saved the girl, Kristen Scott, the mom wanted to have Chang and his family killed. Julian saved, his daughter, I believe, maybe. His daughter? Would you say daughter?
I think it was his daughter, yeah.
But is killed, but Julian saves the granddaughter. And so he takes pity on him. But the final shot, so he sticks his hand in her guts. Next, shot is of his hands, and then the next shot is them getting cut off. So it's like his hands became impure? Or was that the punishment? Did he wanted those hands gone? So
in a sense, you're thinking maybe Chang did him a favor?
I think he wanted that from day one.
Because the hands were the cause of his problems to begin with, killing his father, and the hands have caused more harm than good, I guess. Yeah.
Right. Super literal. There's tiny brains in his hands. But I don't know. I just thought that was a neat way to end. And that's the way I wanted to read it. Like, I felt like he did that to get her blood on him, like his hand. And then there's this acknowledgement between him and Chang when Chang walks in and sees him sitting there on the sofa.
Yeah, I think there's an element of kind of, it's kind of jarring because, you go from that scene and you're suddenly out in the woods. Where the execution, not the execution, but the hand severing takes place. And I just think there's kind of a resignation to Gosling's character. He's kind of like, this is, in a sense, I feel like these characters have this unspoken understanding that this is the inevitability that they've been building toward, and they both kind of accept, that this is what it has to be.
Man, I'm glad you joined me for this episode, because this movie's been eating at me since 2013.
I'll be honest, I probably watch it at least once a year because it's just one of those movies I'll just be like, I'm in a weird only God forgives mood, so I take it out and I'm just transfixed by it every time. Yeah.
I think there's something I don't know if I want to look into this more, but I love, this is going to sound weird, but characters I love are like Doug Glatt in Goon, which is one of my favorite movies where he's this really nice fist fighter. And then I love Say Anything, where Lloyd Dobler is just a really nice kickboxer. And then I'm not saying this guy is a good character on the line of Doug Glatt in this, but he's very morally torn, and he's a fighter. So I don't know, maybe I just like characters who are fighters, like scrappers. Yeah,
no, I mean, do you like Fight Club, Mark?
No, I like it, but I'm not drawn towards it. Even though that's a takedown of that kind of masculinity, that's, what the book was meant for.
Yeah.
That sort of fighting never appealed to me. Because these guys, because they're fighting because they're frustrated with the world, and they're men, and they're frustrated, so they have to go fight each other to vent. I think Doug Glatt's just a good dude who wants to protect people. Okay. Lloyd Dobler just wants to kickbox because he's good at it. And then Julian, I think he likes it. I think he likes training these guys. I think that's his favorite part of that world. And I don't think he's that great at it. And I don't think he fights because he has this, I'm angry at the world and I'm a man, so I need to let my energy go. I think he just has I'm just messed up and I want a fist fight.
Well, and it's kind of like, it's like he's channeling it through that kind of, it's like, this is one way I can kind of, it's a healthy outlet if you're teaching other guys to do it and kind of making it, doing an example of it by leading by example kind of. So I can see that definitely.
I just did a weird breakdown about fist fighting movies. So what are we doing next, man? What's our next feel bad movie that we're going to cover? What's been on your mind that, you're part of a great, you know what, I'll do an introduction to you. I'll promote the Last Knock podcast and your site. I'll just go back and record it again and put it to the front of this. But what movie has Billy Crash not wanted to talk about that you're aching to talk about?
Horror movie or just anything
you want, man. Yeah, what does he not want to do? I'm not playing favorites, but like if there's a movie you really want to talk about, man, I'm in.
You know what, Mark? I don't know if you've seen this one, but this one's been stuck in my head and I've been meaning to rewatch it, so I don't know if this would be of interest to you. What about the movie Elle by Paul Verhoeven?
Yeah, let's do it.
Oh, I thank you, because I've wanted to rewatch it and now I have an excuse to.
I love covering Verhoeven. Like that's our biggest episode of 2019 is Total Recall. So
that is like, oh my God, Norbert's impersonation of Keith David. Yeah. It slays me, man. It just slays me.
That one is like a 4-quadrant picture where it's like a cult classic, but it was huge, and it's an action movie, but it's also smart. So it has this huge audience. So that's our number one thing. Yeah, dude, I'll talk about Verhoeven all day. That was Verhoeven, and then great performance. Let's do Elle. Let's do that. Let's do that next.
Sounds good, man.
All right, it's cool. So hey, for me, actually, do a quick plug at the end. So I love your podcast. I just listened to your Climax one and your episode, and I loved your defense of it. But I totally got where Billy Crash was coming from. I understood it, and I disagreed, but I totally understood what he was saying, because he didn't just say I don't like it. Everything he said had a good reason. So I really was drawn to that episode. I thought it was great. But promote your stuff, man, in the podcast real quick.
You can find I'm co-host of the Last Knock podcast, a bi-weekly horror podcast. You can find it at crashpalaceproductions.com, along with my occasional movie reviews of horror movies. And you can also find me on Twitter and Letterboxd at Jonny Numb. There are no H's in those Johnnies.
Love it. Hey, so for me, Mark Hoffmeyer, and for Johnny Mad Dog Numb, actually, next month, tune into the pay-per-view. We'll give you an update on how he did against the Immortal Deity. We'll let you know if he won or not. So this is Movies, Films, and Flicks. We'll see you next week.